The world is moving online. Access to basic services like education, banking and healthcare now tends to require a device and a good connection. You really have to look at the communities that are getting left behind. For Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities living very remotely in Australia, you find that access to infrastructure, basic services and communication is often very limited. This creates a significant digital divide. It really is important that people in remote communities have access to the same quality of service as in the capital cities. We established the Mapping the Digital Gap program in 2021, supported by Telstra. We wanted to really understand the digital divide between First Nations people living in remote and very remote communities compared to other Australians in the rest of the country. Over the last 3 years, we've visited 12 First Nations communities in remote areas to see how they access the internet, use their mobile devices, and their digital ability to get online safely. Getting out into community is the best way to understand the obstacles for digital inclusion in remote communities. We also learn and see how people are actually using the infrastructure, whether the infrastructure is working or not, and what are some of the requirements that communities need to move forward to get better connection. And it's really important when we partner with community organisations that they have some sense of ownership over the research. And we also feed back to the community all of the results, and they can use the community outcomes reports as an advocacy tool for their services locally.
Basically, the partnership and the research part of it has been awesome. It's basically highlighted a lot of areas that majority of us wouldn't think of on a day-to-day basis. It also highlights the remoteness of Columbia and what is needed for these parts of the world, and what can be done, what needs to be improved, and and what still is a possibility.
The reports from the Mapping the Digital Gap were really good for us to use as an advocacy tool for improving services here in Wodjil. They were really good to use for an advocacy tool for the regional connectivity grant. They were one of the main resources we relied on for the increase of the speeds and the requirements for improvements in digital connectivity in Wodjil. That's something we refer to quite often.
We also provide those reports to Telstra, our funding partner. Telstra is then able to utilise the research and reports and look at them in a way that supports them and Lauren Ganley, the Telstra advocate, to really advocate for services required in those communities that we've done our research in. Gallowinku was one of our research partners for the last 3 years. From those reports, we found that the Telstra tower and Telstra services were very congested under 4G. That provided the data for Telstra to go back and look at replacing that 4G tower with a 5G tower.
The Mapping the Digital Gap research has been instrumental in providing the data on remote communities, and the gap that exists with digital inclusion gives us the evidence to help us work out where we're going to invest to help close that digital gap.
Through the Mapping the Digital Gap project, we've seen that it's really important to ensure that industry gets on board, governments get on board, and communities are on board, and that all of these initiatives to close that digital divide are run and led by the communities themselves.